We're going to bring forward a standalone Israel funding measure over $14 billion.
Is $14 billion enough?
Well, Israel's requested a little less than that, actually. The White House did, by way of Israel, and $14.5 billion specifically is what we're looking at. It's a very specific number tied to very specific measures. But here's the important thing that distinguishes House Republicans from the other team. We're going to find pay-fors in the budget. We're not just printing money to send it overseas. We're going to find the cuts elsewhere to do that.
Beyond the money part, is there any involvement you see or any reason for any military involvement by the United States? Would Congress support that? Because it seems like with the maneuverings of our Navy and other indications, special forces, maybe to rescue American hostages, any movement that you would support that you can think of now?
It's a very delicate situation. It changes by the hour. We're watching it very closely. One thing that House Republicans are resolved on is that we must stand with our most important ally in the Middle East, and that's Israel. We will. We certainly hope that it doesn't come to boots on the ground. If it comes to that, and we communicated this to the White House staff as well today, that we have the Article 1 power in the legislative branch of government, and they have Article 2. They have very limited authority on what they can do to respond without coming to Congress to seek consent. And even my Democrat colleagues, Sean, that are at committees of jurisdiction understand this, in the Foreign Affairs Committee. There's a purpose for that. The reason the framers put that into the Constitution is that they wanted a multitude of wise counsel to decide upon military intervention matters, on a declaration of war. They wanted the duly elected representatives of the people to make that decision collectively, and not one commander-in-chief sitting in an office.
Israel's existence is put in jeopardy. I don't think Prime Minister Netanyahu, who I've known for almost 30 years, I don't think there's anything he won't do to preserve and protect his country from people that have committed their lives to destroy it.
He has to do that, and around here people throw around the phrase existential threat. They have an existential threat every day. I mean, their neighbors want to eliminate them and wipe them off the map. So Prime Minister Netanyahu is resolved. I've spent time with him personally. I know him as well. I think he's a strong leader at this important time, and I think he's going to do what is necessary. And America will back him up. I mean, they tell us when we're in Israel, and you've been there, they say the reason that we are able to sustain ourselves and survive is because everyone knows that our big ally is America. And that's an important role that we have in the world. We're not the world's policemen, but a strong America, as I said, is good for the whole world because it's the perception that we would be there to defend freedom. And that's been our role. That's the Reagan doctrine. A lot of our friends in our party are becoming more isolationist and understand the concerns. We can't be dropping money out of helicopters all around the world because we also have a $33.5 trillion federal debt of our own.
I saw a sign on the way in. It said 33.6.
Did we go to 6? Great.
Probably from this afternoon.
Exactly. It goes so fast you can't track it. And that's the concern. You know, we deeply care and are concerned about all nations of free people around the world, but we have to take care of our own house first. And so that's also part of this delicate calculation and the decision.
Joe Biden wants to give $100 million to the Palestinians for humanitarian relief. Sounds great on paper. I have zero confidence one penny will make it to the Palestinian people because Hamas has been forcing people to stay and pointing guns and shooting at the Palestinians that want to leave.
Right. They use the Palestinians as shields. They don't even provide the people with clean drinking water. We're supposed to believe they're going to use U.S. aid for humanitarian purposes. Count me as a skeptic, okay? We've got to be very careful about what we're doing there. You do not want to further empower the terrorist groups. Our heart goes out to the innocent Palestinian people, of course, as we do to anyone who's in a terrible situation like that. But we have to be very discerning in our policy and in our approach to this. And so that's why we're demanding, House Republicans are demanding more information from the White House so that we can help and make these critical decisions. Look, we're going to stand by Israel, but we have to be careful in how it's done.
What about the $100 million for humanitarian relief for the Palestinians?
I think it's a tough issue. I mean, we're going to have to see what that is tied to. And I'll tell you, the House Democrats, of course, are very resolute on that. And they try to portray us as being uncaring. Look, we care about that as well. But we have to be very careful that we're not further funding terrorist organizations that are trying to wipe Israel off the map.
Can you explain why then President Obama, Vice President Biden did this billion-dollar deal with Iran? Can you explain why Joe Biden made a deal with the Iranians for $6 billion to be freed up in money that was held that they had no access to?
We're in fits over that. I don't understand it at all. I don't understand most of their foreign policy, and I think it's gotten us in the shape that we're in. We have big disagreements with them. We're asking for and demanding accountability on that as well. And we have to, the White House has to improve how they're messaging this and how they're explaining it to people, because we all have to understand that we have a right to. This is the precious treasure of the American people, and if you're sending Iran money, we know that Iran is directly tied to all this. These are Hamas and Hezbollah are proxies of Iran, and they're tied in now with Russia and China. I mean, it is a new axis of evil. That's how we see it, and so it has to be addressed accordingly.
You say if Israel, with all the funding of terror and all these terror organizations, are they within their right to fight back and go directly at Iran?
Of course. That was the first, as you noted, the first act of my speakership is that we passed that resolution to articulate that and make it very clear where we stand. The House is back in business, and we're going to stand with Israel.